Good afternoon, everybody. This is Doug Morello, the Freelance Teacher, World Wide Web, freelanceteacher.com. And I'd like this short video cast to be used to inform you about a movement I like a lot called the Hotep movement. Jim Goad interviewed one of the main guys in the movement in his podcast, Group Hug, on SoundCloud. And I had found out about this movement through Twitter and a few other places because they have some things in common with, of all people, the people on the alt-right. And these are all movements that young people either are aware of or will be aware of or have been made aware of but don't know the name because they are dissent-oriented people. Young people do not normally just lockstep follow in with the things that the adults do. And the alt-right, which the mainstream, of course, just throws racist at it. There's no analysis. There's no reading of the websites. There's nothing in depth. They're just, these are not people with the same thoughts that we have, right? This is the mainstream. This is the way they work. And progressives and most leftists, the way they think is, oh, their thoughts are different than ours, therefore they are bad people. They have bad thoughts, ergo they are bad people. That's how simplistic their thought process is. So the Hotep movement is not a politically correct black movement. They have nothing good to say about Black Lives Matter. And their idea of identity politics is that it's laughable. For example, the movies that have been out in recent past, like Dunkirk, Hacksaw Ridge, these historical movies are mainly about World War II era, and there are other historical dramas out there as well, where many of the people in the movies are either men or white men. Well, if you're going to make a movie about Dunkirk, that's how it's going to go. 98% of Britain was white and only men were eligible for the draft. So you're not going to have many people of color or black people or African Americans, and you're certainly not going to have very many women. Well, the Hotep movement sees the people complaining that there is a lack of diversity or a lack of women, and they just laugh. They'll say you're idiotic for even thinking about that because it's historically wrong. And that sentiment they have in common with the alt-right. Right? And alt-right is really probably not a good term. People who are historically literate will simply say to people complaining about the racial and gender makeup of a movie like Dunkirk, which was 1940 in Britain, most historically, no, let me rephrase. All historically literate, honest people will laugh at somebody complaining about the gender and race makeup of the people in the movie Dunkirk. Now, the Hoteps take it a step further. They say, you don't like the way the movie's done? Why don't you make your own movie? Why don't you make the movie and put in all the kinds of people you want, right? The story you want, put in the people you want, make it as diverse or lack of diverse, all women, all minorities. You do what you want. You make your movie. Stop complaining. So it's a movement I think young people should be aware of, simply because not so that you can just agree with it. That's not the point. The point is that you are aware of it. That you, the high school student who's kind of quiet, and I see this happen all the time, high school student who's relatively quiet, doesn't say much, oftentimes that person is not going along with everybody else and can't and won't. And there are people out there like you. That's really my message to you, the quiet young person who laughs at and scoffs at the politically correct, uni-thought, lockstep, do not deviate from the plan ideas that are out there that are just ridiculous, many of them. Right? I mean, come on, how are you going to make a movie Dunkirk with any kind of realistic flavor and fill it with a politically correct cast? I can't even comment on something like that. We have enough historical illiteracy and ignorance out there as well. We don't need to add to it by making Hollywood movies so completely ridiculous that to appease social justice warriors. right? And one of the best examples of this is the movie Apocalypto, which shows the brutal nature of the human sacrifices done by the indigenous people in Central and South America, particularly in this case in Central America. And people were angry at that. Like, you go to the Wikipedia page and look at the criticism of Apocalypto for what I'm looking at. So just to tell you, HOTEP, Hotep is a movement. Again, it's mostly black dudes from what I can tell. They have a website, one or two that I know of. There's a Twitter page, Handy Mayhem is the guy's name, and he speaks very directly and almost tersely to some of these folks, like the Colin. One last example, the Colin Kaepernick situation, I guess, the Colin Kaepernick issue where he kneels instead of salutes the flag, which that's his right. I honestly don't understand why everyone is so up in arms about it. He has a First Amendment right and he doesn't want to salute the flag. Good for him. Let him practice his freedom of speech. What people seem upset about is that it's costing him, right? Well, welcome to the club. If you're going to say something that offends scores and armies of people, you're going to take a loss, right? Look at all of the professors who say that they believe in human biodiversity, or that they think that there's a difference between men and women. Larry Summers floated a question, I think this was 2005, just the question that perhaps the gender differential in the sciences is because women, and I don't want to get it wrong, but he said something like there's a difference in their interests or a difference in their academic paths. He said some kind of difference between men and women, and he had to resign. So welcome to the club, Colin. And that's really the kind of the Hotep message, right? They of course, these guys they're great because they say not just that. They're like, all right, Colin, you want to do that? Great. Now you're going to pay the price just like everybody else. And then the Hotep guys go even further because they clown on people because they know that those people who are upset that someone like Colin Kaepernick isn't going to, make it anymore in the NFL because of his stance, or maybe he's not good enough anymore. But, there's all this chatter that he's being blacklisted. The Hotep guys laugh at the people who are angry at the Kaepernick situation because they're like, you're going to watch football in the fall, right? You've got your NFL subscription ready. You're going to be watching it, right? So you're a slave to sports anyway. So now you're going to be all quiet about that on week 3 of the NFL season, and you're cheering for your favorite team. So again, the quick message to those young people who are there in class: I see you. You don't think like everybody else, and you don't have to. This current politically correct social justice warrior zeitgeist that we're in, I think it's starting to teeter and crumble. And the Hotep guys, again, they're black. Like, I wouldn't fit in with the Hotep movement for obvious reasons. But there are people out there, and they're worth a look, and it's fun to watch them exercise their right to freedom of speech and their ability to completely disembowel the politically correct social justice warrior odious claptrap that you see in academia and in pop culture and mainstream media today. That's my message. Thank you very much. See you next time.